So I wanted to do a video today, give everyone an update of what's going on with the shop, with the truck. A couple of new things going on. The C10 is definitely getting there. It's basically assembled. Looking into some companies to do the vinyl wrap, but the truck is, as I said, basically assembled. The bed is assembled fully. I have the bed off of the frame because in order to put on the vinyl wrap properly, obviously this would need to be off. So hoping to have it wrapped maybe right after we're done with spring break. So as you can see, the engine is a little bit disassembled. The intake is off, and the reason for that is I was running a Holley Sniper intake with throttle body and all the goodies that come with that, and I had the ECU, which is a stock ECU. I had sent it out to have a custom tune in order to support all of the aftermarket parts and things of that nature, and I just didn't like the way it ran. It didn't run properly, and I think it's because all the aftermarket parts that are on this engine, intake, throttle body, injectors, exhaust, there's a lot of aftermarket happening here. So while the intake is off, I'm gonna get everything cleaned up. It's kind of dusty. Get the engine compartment all cleaned up and detailed, and it'll be ready to go as far as getting this for sale. I do have a windshield and a rear window. I'm gonna wait till basically till the very last minute to put those in. They are flush mount, which is a much nicer version than the typical stock glass, which would be inside of a rubber grommet, like a rubber seal. That's very difficult to install. The flush mount looks a lot more modern than the original one would too. So anyway, back to the ECU. I have removed the ECU, and basically all of the components in the dash that would go with the ECU, because I just couldn't get it to run the way I wanted it to with the stock electronics. So I pulled out the engine harness, I pulled out the ECU, and I have a new option that I'm going to do an unboxing of here shortly, and we will go over that. But you know, getting this all put back together just would take a little bit of time. I have the new carpet covered with plastic on the driver's seat, and just to keep everything kind of clean and protected while we're kind of taking things apart and putting them back together. So yeah, so that's that right at this moment. I went with a one-piece glass in the doors. Brothers Trucks has that option, and you know, typically there would be a vent window that goes from here to here, and it kind of tilts open, and it's, you know, the issue with this, first of all, it's ugly. Second of all, it doesn't seal well. You get a lot of road noise, and trying to put a new seal on those is very, very difficult. And the one piece just looks so much nicer, so much more modern, so much, you know, so much more clean. I don't know if I got video of the exhaust. The exhaust is all Hooker Blackheart from the headers back. Again, everything's just a little dusty, but it will get cleaned up. But you can see Hooker right there. Sounds great, and I think it's going to sound even better once we get the engine running the way I want it to. So the deal with the intake is So here's the intake. This is a Holley Sniper intake, Sniper throttle body, fuel rails, injectors. So the problem that I was running into now is with the new ECU that I'm going to be using, it needs a manifold air temperature sensor, which is this guy right here. And of course, the provisions that come on this intake underneath right there do not have a threaded hole that will accept that 3/8 MPT thread. These are mainly for gaining vacuum for your power booster and anything else that you would need a vacuum for. So I'm going to have to drill a hole in this intake and tap it for the pipe thread that's on that sensor. And I have a special drill and tap coming today, so I'll probably get to that tomorrow. But that's the intake. It's a great intake, it looks great, it works great, but again, the stock ECU just isn't really capable. Even with a custom tune, it just wasn't capable of getting this to be where I wanted it to be. So as far as the instruments go, I had this Dakota Dash set up in there. This is a really cool setup from Dakota Digital. Really retains the stock look, but with completely upgraded electronics. It's all digital. You know, the speedo attack, all of the other gauges are there. The problem is this runs off of a OBD2 port to get all of its information, which is super easy to just plug it into your OBD2 port. Or you can go from here to each individual sensor and get the information that way, which is fine if you're going to run kind of a stock situation in regards to your engine. Unfortunately, now that we're not going to be doing that, this really is not going to work. And when I do the unboxing of the new stuff, I will explain why. But I'm either going to save this for maybe another C10 project that I'll do down the road that will be more of a stock engine situation, or it'll go on eBay. So, I mean, it's basically brand new. All the electronics are in the box. I had it installed, I had it fired up, it worked great, but it has no miles on it. It's got nothing like that. So, so we're gonna get ready for the unboxing and see you in a bit. So we're gonna do this unboxing. This is a Holley Terminator X Max ECU system. It's the first time I've ever used one, and it is self-programmable. So you don't have to have a tuner tune anything. You can tune it all yourself. And of course, if you're using Holley parts, then it makes sense to have Holley electronics. So first thing are the harnesses. So there's going to be an engine harness, which is what this guy is, to go around the engine. And this is the transmission harness, because this also controls the 4L60E that's in the truck. This is the harness for the injectors. This has EV1 style Bosch injectors, and then these are the specific plugs for that. Oxygen sensor. It has a special sensor, and it only needs to use one, which is really cool. This is the power harness. So this is where the whole system is going to get its power. It basically goes from the ECU itself to the battery. And this is a harness that has non-terminated ends. So you can plug in a bunch of different things with this special tack. And on the display, you can do your fuel level, things of that nature. So we'll be using that. This is also gonna be connected to the brake switch that will control the torque converter in the transmission. And this is the little display that you use to get your system all programmed. It's got a little cover on it, and it's a 3-inch display here, and it's a touch screen, and you're gonna be able to go through all the different parameters, and then when you're all set to go, this can be a little dashboard with all of your information, the engine vitals and things of that nature. So that's there. And this is the ECU itself, I'm assuming. And so here she is. So instead of running the stock ECU, we're gonna go with this guy right here. So this is the Terminator X Max. The Terminator X by itself is a engine ECU that will control the engine only. The X Max will control the engine and your transmission if you have a electronically controlled transmission. So we're gonna get all this laid out and start getting these harnesses into place. So one more unboxing that I'm gonna do before we get started with the installation is the Holley Pro Dash. This is a 7-inch display. It goes into the dash. So basically I'm going to get a dash bezel that is the same as this without the provisions for the gauges. It's just gonna be blank. And then I can cut a hole, a 7-inch hole, and put in the Pro Dash. So the Pro Dash is basically a digital dash display that will allow you to program the ECU, have all your parameters set, and pick a digital dash layout out of a whole bunch of different ones to use as your dash. So here it is. This is the Pro Dash, and it's a 7-inch unit. There's actually a bigger one that's 12 inches. But I'm going to be, as I said, getting a bezel that's similar to this but blank, and then I'll cut a hole, and this guy is going to go right about there somewhere. That will be the dash, and this will be completely programmable, and you can pick different types of layouts, different gauges, and things of that nature. If you're running boost, if you're running nitrous, you can have all of that information on here as well. So this is going to go back in the box, and we will get to that once the other harnesses are installed. So let's get a look at these harnesses that came with the Terminator X a little bit more closely. This is the main power harness. So I'm going to have the ECU inside the vehicle, inside the cab. It will not be in the engine compartment. So this guy will have to go through the firewall. Plug here goes to the ECU. It's got a nice fuse pre-installed, and then these guys will go to chassis ground and to the battery directly. So that's not very complicated. This guy, as I said, is the transmission harness. It is a 4L60E. So this is the main plug that goes to the transmission, goes to the speed sensor. This is a turbine speed sensor if you had a 4L80E, which this is not, so this will not be terminated with anything. And then this end goes to the ECU, and it's already got a relay installed, which is really nice, and a fuse, and then your power ground and control. So that's for the transmission. And then the main harness, this guy, again, this end here will go to the ECU, it's got a relay and a fuse already installed, and then this will go through the firewall, and then this will go to all the engine sensors. So these will go to the NOx sensor, oil pressure, there'll be fuel pressure, to the coil packs, and to the injectors. So that's all that, and let's get going. So inside the cab, here is the original ECU, this stock guy. I have it on a Dirty Dingo bracket, and I had it up under the dash right there, so it was behind the stereo and the AC controls, bolted to the firewall. The Terminator ECU, which is this guy here, as we saw earlier, is going to go in the same place. As you can see, it's a lot smaller, and I'm going to do basically the same thing. I'm going to tuck it up behind there and bolt it to the firewall, and that way it's out of the weather, and I won't have to worry about it. So as you can see right there, I've got a grommet and the hole cut through the firewall. That's where I had the original harness from Painless that was coming from the ECU inside the cab out to the transmission and to the engine. I think I'm gonna have to, well, once I get that grommet out, I'm gonna have to enlarge that hole just a little bit, and then I can start to feed the main power harness for the Terminator, the engine harness, and the transmission harness right through there. So we have the harnesses run through the firewall. I'm just gonna have to put the grommet back in there so they don't get damaged by the sheet metal there. And I have them run out into the cab. And of course, you know, the length of the harnesses inside the cab, I'm gonna have to figure out, because they're pretty long. The transmission harness seems to be perfect length, and the other two seem like they give you a lot of extra, which is fine. I can curl it up and hide it up underneath the dash, which is what I'll probably do. This is definitely better than the stock harness that I had in here with the stock ECU, because not only was that ECU huge and big and bulky, the stock harness was huge, big, bulky, and it had its own relays and fuse box. I had it tuck up underneath there too. And with this, everything is much more user-friendly, at least for this application. So gonna get the ECU mounted, and we'll see what's next. So definite mess in the engine compartment. These, you know, everything here will get plugged into its sensors. This one here, which is the main ground and power, I can definitely cut this short before I connect it to the battery. But everything else is pretty self-explanatory. Just have to make it look nice and neat. Get the intake back on, and we'll see what else we have to do. So I was able to reuse this Dirty Dingo ECU mount. This was the mount that I had used for the stock ECU, and I drilled a couple of holes, and I'll be able to reuse this piece. And I was also able to shift the ECU over to the right. That way the plugs won't be so close to the windshield wiper motors there, and the ignition switches there, and this will get those out of the way. So this turned out well. So I got the ECU mounted, and the plugs are ready to go. Now I just got to deal with all the loose wiring, and I think this is going to be a good time to end this video. So one last thing in this video today, this is the outside of the shop right here, and 1,250 square feet for each partitioned section of this building. There's another section right here that is my next door neighbor that is vacant. So I made a deal with the owners of the building to basically take over this side too. So I'm gonna be doubling my space, adding another whole 1,250 square feet. So this wall will come down. The bathroom, which is here, is gonna stay. And then this wall here will come down as well. And I'll be able to move things back and forth and still have the bathroom in here. And there's also a bathroom on the other side as well. So thanks everyone for checking out the video. I appreciate it. And subscribe, check me out, contact me if you need anything done. I do everything that you could possibly imagine.